You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Angelina Martin and Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and I'm joined here, as always, as has been the deal all season long, with my co-host, Angie. How you doing,
Hi.
Angie?
Well, we were talking before we went live. I'm kind of emotional. I don't know why. Obviously, this loss was hard on us. Just a lot of reflection. Very thankful for what we started this season. We talked about every single game together, and now it's the last time we're talking about a game this season. So just very happy to be here. Happy to know that we're having fun with this, but not looking forward to talking about this game because that was rough. I just watched some more highlights just to refresh my brain, and it still is very raw and fresh in my mind. So let's get into it, man.
Let's get into it. And before we get into it, though, I just want to say, yes, the loss obviously was very difficult to process, and we're still processing a bit. But if there's anything that me and Angie could do to make it better, we're gonna try to do that in this episode. We're gonna be positive vibes and as we've been all season, right? For the most part,
Seriously,
I think.
right.
Don't listen to the first few episodes of the season. We were kind of negative. But since then, we're just gonna try to keep it positive. But before we keep it positive, Angie, you have a This Week in 49ers History. Take us back.
Tidbit. First, I do want to say to you, Steph, my co-host, happy National Girls and Women in Sports Day. It's today, February 2nd. And we got a lot of shout outs on Twitter today, which was just
so that was why, huh?
Yeah, that was why. It just warms my heart. So that's this day and forever history. We should celebrate women in sports every single day, though. You guys know the drill, and I think everyone that listens to us is really good at doing that. But to get into our tidbit this week, you guys are all familiar with this one, but I thought it was kind of relevant. 2 years ago today, February 2nd, 2020, the 49ers lost Super Bowl live. I like to call it that, to the Kansas City Chiefs, 31-20. I like to call it that because I'm not fast enough to remember what number that is in Roman numerals.
Right.
Live. So as you know, Kansas City scored 3 touchdowns in the final 6 minutes of the game to overcome a double-digit deficit. So little deja vu. I don't know, not quite the same situation, but we know this feeling all too well now, it seems. Before the game, jumping out of history, going straight into news before the game, we had a prayer circle going for Trent Williams. We all wanted and needed him in this game. He was dealing with a high ankle sprain. Shows up in LA and basically by game day is like, I'm ready to go. So he was in the game. Steph, what were your thoughts about Trent? Do you think that he was a game changer being able to play, or?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. We all wanted Trent Williams to go. We were feeling like we couldn't go into this game without him as fans, even though they did win without him in week 18. This is a playoff game. You have to have him out there. So a lot of people after the game, after his performance, which was not his best by any means, he gave up 5 pressures compared to his 18 that he had given up, in the other 19 games this season. And so in hindsight, a lot of people were saying, well, should they have kept him out? And this is my favorite thing about fans is it's so easy for us to think in hindsight, and when in reality, we all wanted him to go. So it's not fair to then just, switch it up and say that he shouldn't have been out there. Yeah. I mean, Trent Williams, all pro, even I'd probably take a hurt Trent Williams over a lot of offensive linemen that are out there. And, I really feel no different. Also, it being such a big game, he wanted to be out there.
Yeah.
You're not just going to keep him out. If he
It
can
was his
go, he's
first
going to go.
Yeah, it was his first championship game. Like, how are you
Right.
gonna, if there's any chance of him playing, how are you gonna tell him no? And yeah, exactly like you said, hindsight is 2020. That's my favorite thing about, that's really I've realized that over the course of this podcast is like, it's so
Yeah.
easy to talk about things when, of course, when you know what the outcome was, you're always gonna want to change it. So,
Right.
I think that the Rams played an exceptional game against us. I don't think it's a knock on Trent Williams. So I completely agree with you. We all wanted him out there.
Yeah, exactly. So would you agree then that, you think it was fine that he played?
Yes. Yeah, I would have been pissed if he wasn't playing. Like, right?
Yeah.
I would have been
Yeah.
not pissed. I would have been sad. But it's you'll never know what the outcome would have been if someone else were in his place. Like you said, they won week 18.
Exactly.
I can't remember who slipped into his spot in week 18, but you'll just never know.
Yeah. I think it was Jalen Moore. No.
Okay.
Sorry, it wasn't Jalen Moore. I think it was Tom Compton or something like that. I have my notes from a couple weeks ago, but not going to go that far.
Yeah, it's okay. They lost. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
Season's over. Turn off the podcast.
Doesn't matter. What are we even doing here, man? All right, but yeah, we got to talk about this game, the entirety of it. The 49ers did lose to the Rams 17-10. And like you said, the Rams played a great game. Still, the 49ers could have won. That's always going to be the sentiment, right? As a fan, you always say, what if, coulda, woulda, shoulda, and all these other things. So and there's always a few plays that people kind of get fixed on. And one of those plays in this game being Jaquiski Tartt's dropped interception, pretty much. And first, before I say anything, I want to get your thoughts on what you thought about that drop.
I just watched it again for the second time, and Steph, I swear to God, like tears welled up in my eyes. I think initially the first time, obviously watching it live, the shock hits you and you're upset and but let's see how the rest of the game plays out. But when you watch it the second time and what the outcome of the game is and you see how big of an opportunity that was for the 49ers, because as we know, the Rams charged downfield and were able to tie the game right after that. So it was heartbreaking. It's really hard to say if it would have changed the outcome of the game, is where I think I differ from a lot of people, because let's be honest, this offense wasn't doing much. I mean, granted they were winning, but this isn't a high scoring offense. It was having plenty of struggles on Sunday. So who's to say that the Niners wouldn't have gone back out, gone 3-and-out, and then the Rams come back and tie it anyway? Maybe maybe we go to overtime. Maybe they don't kick that field goal at the end of the game, but it's hard to say if it would have been any different if it hadn't happened, but it doesn't make it hurt any less, because there's always the what if. And the other part that was just devastating to me is how hard, Tart took it at the moment, probably still is taking it. When you get on social media and make an apology to fans, like, how badly are you hurting and how much do you feel like you've let the fans and the team down to feel like you have to make a statement? He didn't have to do that. It's sports. Like, that kind of thing happens all the time. And to see him, laying on the ground after that, almost like he was injured, and, his teammates trying to get him up off the ground, it was just like, it was just a devastating loss, because you could tell how much every little moment meant to them and how badly they wanted to win. And that was just a prime example of it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I mean, because I was at the game, right? And like
I forgot.
seeing the ball like heading right into his arms, like we were already cheering. Like, you can because the ball, there was no one that close to him, and so like you can see it was like okay, he's catching this ball, like everyone was already cheering, and then like instant
Silence.
deflation of like what, like he didn't catch that. And I remember like my immediate thought was like that's
Fuck.
like a game changing play. Like like that could have changed everything. And I don't say that because, you know, like I think you made a great point about, yes, the offense wasn't playing all that great. So we don't know what would have happened to the offense had that play happened, right? Had he made the interception, they got the ball back. But what I could say is that the Rams would probably not have scored. They wouldn't have scored on that drive. Like that's it. And that already increases your chances of winning
100%.
exponentially. Also, it wasn't just the dropped interception that was bad, which by the way, like I totally appreciate, and I immediately felt bad for Tart because like you said, I knew how bad he must have felt that he didn't get that. And yes, he's just been nothing but a true professional about the whole thing. Even like post game talking about it, like he owned up to it. You know, he apologized, and yes, you can tell he really felt terrible. But really for me, it was the plays that happened immediately after that were the big game changers. So really, it was the sequence. It started a sequence.
Yes, momentum.
And a domino effect. The next play was the 30-yard completion to OBJ, which included the 15-yard penalty. You gave up 40 yards or more, like half the field on basically one play after
in 2
that.
seconds.
And of course, as you know, I wouldn't say this was the Rams' best game, but at the same time, their offense was efficient enough to score, and certainly in a position where they had to score, you know, being down in the fourth quarter, you know, they did what they needed to do. And so really, yeah, I can't fault Tart for his one individual miss, but like what happened after that, of course, like it stings. It stings a little for sure.
It was so bad because it literally, he caught it, you know, like it wasn't
like
off his hands. He caught it and it just came out, which was insane. And I don't know if we were planning on talking about it, but I did want to throw out one more moment of the game that I thought was seemingly like not a big deal, but in retrospect, you know, it was a big deal. Special teams did a great job at putting the Rams on the 3-yard line when Sherfield jumped into the end zone and threw the ball back and got it down at the 3. And
great play.
Defense allowed them to drive 97 yards down the field and score on that amazing play by special teams, who, goddamn, if they didn't step up their game in playoffs and play their heart out. So that was really upsetting to me, watching that back and just, you know, realizing how big of a play that was and how it was wasted. But again, the Rams offense is no joke. So I can't fault the defense. They allowed this potent offense 20 points. We should be able to score more than that. But anyway, if we're talking about moments that stood out, that was just another one to me.
Another moment that stood out and certainly was criticized by fans and you know, even some media members after the game was Kyle Shanahan's decision to not go for it on 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter on the Rams 45, no less. In the post, sorry, not in the post game presser, but in the presser yesterday.
Yes. No, Monday, right?
Monday.
Oh
man, was it Tuesday?
I don't know. It was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
I was just watching it.
The final you know, end of season presser. Kyle Shanahan did kind of explain, you know, what led to that and ultimately why he didn't go for it. And I have the video clip. I'll just like,
it's kind of like what we were just saying, the whole hindsight is 2020 thing.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like he gave like a, you know, pretty good response. I'll just play it here. Let's see.
I can't hear that.
Oh, it's not playing the audio?
No.
Okay. That's a bust.
That's a bummer.
But okay, yeah, I couldn't get it to upload onto StreamYard, but
No,
anyway,
that's okay. He basically
basically what he said was he liked how that drive was going. There was a play before that they got like 9 yards on, and he pretty much ran that same play. I don't know if it was like a variant of that same play, but he decided to run that same play again, and I think it was I think that was a play that not Eric Weddle. Well, I think they lost like a yard on that play, so then it became like second and was it 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 2? At
God, I
some
couldn't
point,
tell you.
they on some point they lost a yard basically, and so like I think his thought going into it was if it was 4th and 1, they would have gone for it, but because they lost a yard, it became 4th and 2, and he decided not to go for it.
That's pretty much the answer that he gives every single time someone asks him this. He always says, well, if it would have been a little bit closer, I would have gone for it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Literally, like, I'm not even making that up. That's basically what he says every single
because
time.
it has happened before, right? Where it's like it's 4th and something, and he's like, no. Which I wonder why that is, though, and it begs the question, like, is he not aggressive enough? And especially in the fourth quarter, he now has a history of this that you can point to, that has led to losses or like fourth quarter collapses. So did you have any issue with not going for it on 4th and 2? And what are your thoughts on, Kyle Shanahan not being aggressive enough?
I did not have a problem with him not going for it on 4th and 2. Like he said, they were ahead at the time, and I think he was more comfortable punting it and putting the Rams in that field position rather than turning the ball over on downs, which completely makes sense. You're talking about Matt Stafford. Granted, he can obviously go 97 yards down the field. It doesn't matter where you put him. That offense is incredible. So I don't fault him if it would have been 4th and 1. I'm this kind of in the same boat as him. If it would have been closer, obviously, I think you need to be a little more aggressive there because the Rams are going to put up points. But 4th and 2 just seemed a little bit risky to me, even given the weapons they have in the run game. But as far as him not being aggressive enough, I definitely believe that. I think he tends to play it safe in situations like that, even though I just said I agreed with that one. There have been multiple times throughout the season where, like I said, he's being asked about this a lot. Why didn't you go for it? Or, why didn't you take this chance? And it's usually a pretty safe answer. So I think that's just his style of coaching. But, it's not paying off, right? Like at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan is a good coach, but he's not going to be a great coach until he's able to win that big game and not give up double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. I mean, this has become almost his legacy, and I do think he's a great coach, but I think in the eyes of the NFL and fans and even maybe some 49er fans, like, he really hasn't proven himself yet in terms of being that, super caliber, high caliber coach that we know that he is. It just hasn't manifested itself yet because I think he is a little safe.
Yeah, definitely. I also had no issue with him not going for it on 4th and 2. For pretty much the same reason you mentioned. They were up at the time. I'm okay with it. Several points this season, they have looked to their defense to finish games for them. And a lot of the times it's worked for them, right? And in fact, the defensive drive after that was the one in which Tart dropped that interception. So imagine had that happened, Kyle Shanahan would have been right
genius.
in his thinking.
Yeah.
So I don't fault him. I think
it's so hard because the defense has literally come through every like
exactly.
all season. Like this
Yeah.
team is the defense. It always has been the defense. And it just goes to show it's exactly what we talked about. You have to win two of those three groups, right? Offense, defense, special teams. Defense faltered, so did offense. Game over. They have to pick each other up, and unfortunately, the offense did not do that for the defense as the defense has done for the offense all season.
Yeah, it's almost like the defense is so good to a fault that Kyle Shanahan depends on them almost too much to win these games, because it's almost like he's like, we can win this without getting any more points. Like we just need to stop them. When
Yeah.
in reality, there is an element of like you have to be aggressive. You have to be able to close out games, and that does involve scoring points in the fourth quarter. There's a ridiculous tweet I saw, and Zane 49ers tweeted this. It says, please correct me if I'm wrong, but going back to his days as an OC in Washington, Kyle Shanahan's offensive units have scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter in the playoffs, with Washington 0, Atlanta 2, with San Francisco 0. 10 total quarters. That's 2 touchdowns in the 150 minutes of play in the fourth quarter. Like that's mind-boggling. That's insane for a coach who is as I hold him in a high regard in terms of his like offensive play calling, and he just kind of turns into a little shell like in the fourth quarter. Like it's kind of weird. And
it's so
a
weird.
Trend. It's a trend. Like it's a
right.
thing. This isn't
how
just
are
like
we how are we supposed to be like, oh, the offensive wizard? Like when we see that stat right there, it's like 2 + 2 does not equal 4. I think I just made up that analogy. You guys know what I meant.
It. We'll use that.
But like it's crazy. Like, watching the fourth quarter back, where was Debo Samuel? Like, the last 2 possessions, they're throwing the ball. Like, why is Jimmy passing the ball? Like, so many questions. I'm not an NFL head coach, so I'm not going to slander Kyle Shanahan. I know he was doing everything he could to win that game. Of course he was. But to me, you should give the ball to the best player on your team when you're looking for a game-winning drive. And they didn't do that a single time when the game was tied. So just absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. They didn't do it on the last possession when they were trying to get back up and tie it. So it's just like, it was really disappointing to watch because we've seen so many times these comebacks that they've had and you're expecting it. And then to see the game plan they rolled out there for those last 2 possessions, it was just really, really puzzling.
Yeah. Cause in other games this season, there have been times where they've really only needed 1 drive to win the game. Right. And this time they had 2 and nothing. Like they couldn't get anything.
The Rams played really well. That's what
they did.
We have to remember. Like sometimes you just have to friggin' tip your cap and be like, good game. But it is frustrating. Like you said at the beginning of the episode, this was a winnable game. And it seems like every single game the 49ers lost this season was so winnable. So, being that close that many times does give me hope for next season. But just like really frustrating.
Yeah, a couple more stats on, just Kyle Shanahan in the fourth quarter. Over the last 3 seasons, 49ers are 3-2 with the lead of 10 or more points in the fourth quarter in the playoffs. The rest of the league is 23-0. And the 49ers losses have been, of course, the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs, which happened 2 years ago today, and the NFC Championship game on Sunday.
The 2 biggest games of
and then here's another crazy one, and I hope he sees this or hears about this in some capacity.
Hope he watches.
Right. Kyle Shanahan, he's been outscored in the fourth quarter 53-0 in last 3 playoff losses. 53-0. No points in the fourth quarter in last 3 playoff losses. It's just like, my guy. I am like, okay.
And you know, it's wild. Like, everyone is either like, it's Kyle Shanahan's fault or it's Jimmy Garoppolo's fault. Like, those are the only two people to blame for that. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I do agree, and I actually have some like Jimmy Garoppolo stats. He's equally as terrible in the fourth quarter. But the reason that I think that it goes beyond Jimmy Garoppolo, or that I think it goes beyond who Kyle Shanahan has at his disposal, is because this goes further back than, you know, his tenure here as head coach. It goes back to, you know, as Zane pointed out in that tweet, goes back to Washington. It goes back to Falcons.
Yeah.
So it's a pattern again that goes beyond, you know, just Jimmy Garoppolo.
For the audio listeners, do you want to read that stat?
Yeah. So the stat I have up for the audio listeners, Jimmy Garoppolo went 3 for 9 for 30 yards and an interception in the fourth quarter on Sunday. In 6 playoff starts, Garoppolo has a 28 passer rating in the fourth quarter, ranking last among 69 quarterbacks with 30 or more fourth quarter passes in playoffs since 1991.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Bad.
That's bad. But, you know, yeah. I don't even know what to say.
I'm not sure what to say. I mean, yeah, let's move on. But I did want to talk about Debo Samuel. You mentioned Debo Samuel, how he didn't get the ball in the fourth quarter, the last 12 minutes of play. The one thing I want to ask, because obviously, oh fuck, sorry, my microphone. Obviously, it's outrageous that Debo Samuel didn't get the ball in the fourth quarter, and it's interesting as well. It's just odd because we were 2 weeks removed from Debo Samuel telling coach, like, give me the ball, and him like scoring pretty much that touchdown against the Cowboys. So what happened in this game? Like, did Debo Samuel not ask for the ball? Does he need to ask for the ball? Like,
that's what I was about to say.
Like,
why do we even have to ask for the ball? I don't think he was hurt. I think we would have heard about it. I think it was odd. Stupid. Like, that's all I can think of to say. It's like I said like 10 minutes ago. Why aren't you giving the ball to your best player? It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. But you know, one thing that people are starting to ask is, well, Debo Samuel has had an amazing season, and you know, people are starting to ask, will we ever see a season like this from Debo Samuel again, or just from any player really? Because it's been a very unique year for him.
I honestly feel like this Debo Samuel season and how it ended, like, I feel like I'm mourning a death. And I know that sounds crazy, but like to see him sitting on the bench crying after that game, knowing what he did this season and how hard he worked and how he gave it his absolute all. And not only that, but like successfully gave it his absolute all and became a star of the NFL. Like, who wasn't talking about Debo Samuel this season? No one. He became so many people's favorite players that don't even root for the 49ers. That's how incredible he was this season. I just feel really bad for him, but I think he's going to keep this up. I think he's going to be a huge part of the game plan next season, with Trey Lance still adjusting. You know, they're going to need to score points, and Debo is a great way to do that when you give him the ball, Kyle Shanahan. So I think the sky's the limit. I'm hoping that Kyle Shanahan is just now realizing the potential of Debo and what you can do with him. And I think hopefully that they just began to open that playbook this season and hopefully can do more with it next season, because Debo said, yeah, I want to keep playing wide back. I want to keep this role that I've established for myself, not only on the 49ers, but in the NFL, and had a legendary season because of it. So we'll see how he holds up. We know that he's a guy that tends to get injured. So I hope that they don't overdo it, but I sure think that he could have another great season like this next year.
I agree with you, Angie. I'm actually surprised by all the people that are saying like we'll never see anything like this again. Because I understand where that's coming from, but at the same time, Debo Samuel is, how old is he? Like 26, 27? Like
Not even.
I think he's like at least 26.
I'll look
but
it up.
He's young. He's young is my point. And it's almost, I know people don't mean to say that in an insulting way, but it's almost insulting to 26. Yeah. So it's almost insulting to who he is and who he's become to think that he's not capable of doing this again. So like, I think you're right, Angie. I think like this is just the beginning for him. We've seen him grow so much in just this season alone. And I think he's really going to look to carry that into next season. Obviously, this meant a lot to him. I mean, we saw it, you know, on the sidelines, and he's going to carry that with him. So,
he's going to be back with a vengeance.
Exactly. So I feel good about him being able to replicate something similar to this. Now, how his role may or may not change with Trey Lance in the picture is yet to be seen. Like who knows what that's going to look like. It'll be exciting for sure.
Yeah, maybe we'll see him catch some more passes.
Yeah,
down
exactly.
the field.
Exactly, which will definitely, I think, help with, his durability and, keep making sure that he's not getting too banged up. Because let's switch it up. Maybe every other year, we take turns. One year he's like more of a running back, one year he's more of a receiver, who knows?
Hey, I'm still saying try him at QB or cornerback. I don't know.
Who knows? We might see that a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about now like certain plays or things like Debo not getting the ball too much that are surface area reasons why the 49ers may have lost this game. But I really do think it goes beyond just a play or a quarter, right? And I think we mentioned it earlier, Angie, like we think the Rams played a great game. And one thing I think that they did really well was they neutralized the 49ers, both sides of the ball in the trenches. And that's something that the 49ers, that was their formula for success, pretty much, all season. And like to see the Rams pretty much beat the 49ers at their own game. I mean, like I'm obviously upset the 49ers weren't able to win. Yeah, you got to tip your cap. Like I can't even be that mad. Like they did what they needed to do. The run game could not really get anything going. Nearly half of the 49ers runs went for 1 yard or less. Like when have we seen that? And it's funny because there's so many teams who have tried to stop the 49ers in this way. Like we've seen a lot of teams try to stack the box against the 49ers. It just wasn't working. It wasn't working. And the Rams were able to do that very effectively. And so again, got to tip your cap. I mean, what did you think about the Battle of the Trenches and how that was lost?
I mean, you could see it happen right in front of you, right? I mean, you pointed out that half of their runs went for 1 yard or less. We're not used to seeing that. So, I mean, right away, it's going to be a game again, just like the last time we played them in week 18, where, Jimmy's going to have to pass the ball. So it didn't surprise me because we pretty much saw the same thing the last time we played them. They were able to neutralize the run pretty well. But in week 18, even though they were able to neutralize the run, Kyle didn't go away from it. He stuck with it, and the Niners ultimately ended up winning that game. I feel like they still could have ran a lot more than they did, even though it seemed like it was a lost cause. I don't know, just in games past when Kyle doesn't give up on the run, even when it does seem like it's not working, it always seems to end up working in the end. So I wish he would have stuck with it a little more. I'm just not confident in the 49ers passing game at all. I mean, Jimmy made some stupid throws. That one throw to Brandon Ayuk into double coverage when George Kittle was wide open right next to him was insane. So just stuff like that. I just want to see this team always run the ball. And Kyle's usually more creative with it too. Like, we didn't see one trick play that entire game, which is like really weird for us. Usually he can pull something out where it's like, oh my God, so it was disappointing, but I wasn't surprised because I mean, the Rams knew exactly, like, everyone knows the Niners game plan. So it's not surprising to me that the third time that they've played this season, they finally got the Niners number.
Yeah, actually, really quickly before we talk more about, like, the battle of the trenches, this comment by Dawson: did you guys think Kyle tried everything he can do to win the game? Play calling seemed weird, and you just, what you said just now, Angie, like, made me think of this, and I definitely felt the same way. Last week in like our preview episode, I predicted that the score was going to be really high. It was going to be like 40 points, and some of that just came some of that came from just like me knowing, one, that he always goes in his bag against the Rams,
Right.
and then also like just his past NFC championship games. And so like I really was expecting that. And I don't think we saw anything special, anything
It
out
just
of the
felt
ordinary.
dead. The whole game felt dead to me.
There was nothing that looked like, okay, like, you've been working on this, like, like you drew this up just for this game. Like,
yeah.
There was nothing, extraordinary about what they try to put out there. And who knows, maybe that is because, the offensive line was getting worked.
Right. He was under pressure a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, he was 2 of 10 for 33 yards and an interception when pressured. And what I have up here on the screen, I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. 49ers offensive line pressures almost doubled in this game on Sunday compared to their week 18 game. And so obviously when you look at that, you can't really expect the same level of success. And I always feel like, losing in the trenches is like it's a slow death almost, like, because it's just going to keep happening all game, and
Yep.
Eventually someone's going to give up.
Right. If it's happening at the beginning of the game, by the end of the game, you're done for.
Right. It's a bit demoralizing. Yeah. So not great. Also, because they went in the trenches, the Rams were able to control the time of possession. The Rams ran 76 plays compared to the 49ers 50. And again, that's something that I noticed in the first half. And that's something, those are things that have happened in games with the 49ers before, right? They start off kind of slow and they go into halftime and you're like, okay, they're going to make adjustments. It'll be fine. But going into halftime, I don't know if it's that I didn't see adjustments or it was just that the Rams just like their formula was working,
Exactly. And that's what I just want us and like everyone to remember, because it's so easy to just like blame, angry, when really, like, a lot of the time you can be like, it's the Rams, Matt Stafford wasn't the problem in Detroit, and he's come to LA and been the opposite of a problem. He's been an asset. The throws he makes, the team that they built over there in LA from top to bottom by being aggressive with trades and not giving a shit about draft picks, it's paying off and you can't deny it. So, I mean, we could go all day and say how the 49ers could have won this game, but at the end of the day, like, the Rams did what they needed to do and then some. Because the 49ers, as crazy as the season has been, they were a good team this season, and we really felt like if we got to the Super Bowl, we had a fair shot. So I don't know. I'm just spewing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like if there's any way to lose, you at least like the 49ers went out with some like dignity and like obviously like
Oh my God,
respectful.
yeah.
Like, and like the Rams, like the fact that they played so well and we can't really do anything but tip our cap to them, like that, it to me personally is better than the 49ers losing it on their own.
Just
I don't
shitting
know.
the bed completely. Even though
Yeah.
They sharded the bed, but they didn't fully shit the bed. So it could be worse.
It could have been worse, I guess. That's just been our motto of the decade. It could be worse. Like, can it?
Yeah. But the good news is that first round draft pick that we have coming up is number 29. So it doesn't hurt that much. I mean, obviously any pick in the first round is good, but at least it wasn't like the Niners turned their season around and gave the Dolphins a low pick. So
cool. For sure. For sure.
Positive.
Yeah. I mean, in Cooper Kupp, wow. Like I can't even. There's not much. There's not. Yeah. Like there's not much I can say. Like, and I know Rich said like Cooper Kupp is a player who's gonna get his, but my God, did he get his? Like
he burnt every single 49ers player during that game. Like I'm pretty sure he burnt each secondary player during that game at least once. Like for big plays. He's all over the field.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seemed like OBJ was, quite a bit of a match for Ambry Thomas as well. They both combined for 20 catches, 225 yards, and Kupp had the 2 touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, they did their thing, man.
A lot of Ambry Thomas just like running around like this, like with no one around him, and people just making plays. And he had that one PI at the beginning of the game. Thought we were past that, but it's okay, dude. I still think there's good things to come from him. I hate when people comment breaking news in the chat and it distracts me because Ryan just said Harbaugh's returning to Michigan.
Holy
and he will
shit!
Not
so
be
is that
coaching
like
the Vikings?
Oh shit! Okay,
that's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty notable.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, I got excited.
No, you're fine. The good thing about that, because literally the next thing I was going to talk about is news after the game, and one of those was going to be that DeMeco Ryans, he actually pulled his name out of the Vikings head coaching search. So this news doesn't exactly, affect us too much, thankfully, and certainly doesn't affect any other NFL teams. But I would have loved to see Jim Harbaugh back in the NFL.
God, Steph, I was like celebrating, dude. You don't understand how much I love that guy. Like,
oh man,
Harbaugh saw Kirk and was like, "Nope." That's funny, Dawson. LOL.
Hey, I like Kirk. I mean, I do make fun of him sometimes, but like, I think
he's a good quarterback.
He's solid, man.
I just thought it was funny. I was like explaining to my boyfriend Seth last night in the kitchen. I was like, with the conspiracy board, I was like, Jim Harbaugh used to coach the 49ers and then he left and Kyle Shanahan came here and he wanted Kirk Cousins to be his quarterback. And now Jim Harbaugh is going to the Vikings and is going to have Kirk Cousins as his quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan's going to murder Jim Harbaugh.
The simulation would have been too crazy at that point.
I know.
I think that's why they had to veto that. They're like, we can't have this. It's too chaotic.
Anyway, that's too bad.
Yeah, for sure it is. But more news that happened after the game. The other coach, as we know, Mike McDaniel, that is still, in the mix to potentially be poached from the 49ers. He is still being courted by the Dolphins, and he is having his second interview on Friday, per Mike Silver. And he's one of 2 finalists. So that's what scares me the most. Of course, we saw what unfolded this week with Brian Flores and, his lawsuit against the NFL and the Dolphins and Giants. Personally, if I was Mike McDaniel, I wouldn't go anywhere near Miami right now.
You ain't paying me to lose.
Right. It's like that screams like such a red flag to me.
But it's so easy to say that, Steph, when you're not being offered a head coaching job in the NFL.
But Angie, like every like Kyle Shanahan protege has like gone on to become a head coach and has been like highly sought after.
Like his time will come. He could take his pick.
Yeah, this was one season after, like, I don't know.
No one knew who he was really 2 seasons ago. So
yeah, exactly. And so, like, in this cycle, he's only been was he interviewed for like 2 teams or?
Yeah, I can't think of the other one if there was one. I'm bad.
Yeah, but
chat
that number would just increase. Like you're on the 49ers, you're coaching with Kyle Shanahan. This team is going to be good. This offense, like,
I would want to stay and win a Super Bowl with Kyle personally. That's just me. And Trey Lance, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And I mean, they could win one next year because Trey Lance will no longer be a rookie. And I heard that rookies can't win Super Bowls. So now that he's not a rookie, should be good to go.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it would say a lot about like him if he's able to, be successful with a quarterback like Garoppolo and then a quarterback like Trey Lance, who are like completely different. So like it just shows like, how versatile you can be as a coach.
I thought you were gonna say it would just show like how good of a person he is. And like how much he loves Kyle if he stayed. No, he went a completely normal route.
Probably that too. I mean, that's got to be part of it. They've literally been,
you're absolutely correct.
Like this, stuck at the hip at every place that Kyle Shanahan has gone. So I don't know, man. Do you really want to let that go?
No, God no. Friends are hard to come by. Especially in the National Football League. Sounds like the intro to like an HBO drama.
A 30 for 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, we're still keeping our fingers crossed. Like who knows what's gonna come of that. Hopefully, for selfish reasons, hopefully Mike McDaniel will choose to stay with the 49ers at least another year. We'll see what happens.
If he leaves really quick, do you think Kyle will just be head coach, offensive coordinator? Like, or do you think?
I don't know. Like, because like he's already like technically the offensive coordinator, right? Like,
right. That's why.
But it's more so like Mike McDaniel helps him so much with like preparation and all that other stuff. So whatever the hell they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure there'll be someone else in line for that role. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, Wes Welker would be great. Dawson. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat.
Potentially. I don't know why I said potentially.
Potentially.
Potentially, yes. He has a chance. I mean, everyone has a chance.
Everyone has a chance.
Another coach, the assistant offensive line coach, Butch Barry, he was just hired today by the Broncos to coach their offensive line. So good for him. They'll be looking for a replacement there. And we have to talk about this
Okay.
because it came up today. There was a report by I don't remember his name. Uh,
It was confirmed by our 49ers beat reporters. That's
well, one part of the report was
Oh,
confirmed.
right. I'll look
Um,
up his name while you talk about it.
okay, perfect. So basically, John Embry, who is the 49ers uh, assistant head coach and tight ends coach, uh, it's been reported he will not be back uh, as with the 49ers next season. And the original report that came out, and Angie's pulling up the name. Um, faster, Angie, come on.
I'm trying.
uh,
Solomon Wilcots. Solomon
okay.
Wilcots.
Okay, so that man said that the 49ers were letting him go, and then he kind of insinuated that it was for racial reasons or something, like it was racially motivated, and they asked him to
Because his
take a
salary.
60% pay cut, which is
Yeah, didn't he say like this
that's
is
unheard
how
of.
black coaches are treated in the NFL?
Yes.
Which
Yep.
he's damn right. Absolutely. So, obviously we don't know the details of what happened or anything, but it's not a good look and it's terrible timing.
Yeah.
Especially given that what he said.
And it was weird that it was not, the original report did not come from anyone near the 49ers. Like the beat writers, Mayoko, Matt Barrows, did not chime in to it until like hours later.
Yeah.
And by then people had already speculated quite a bit. And one thing I noticed is Mayoko and Barrows were pretty careful to not say that he was fired. So they said he just would not be returning.
Right.
So there's been no mention of him having been fired, and Mayoko and Barrows both did not mention anything about a pay cut, and they, I mean, obviously didn't mention anything about it being potentially racially motivated. For one, personally, I mean, I don't know what to think about that one. I think that that's a stretch to suggest that that's what fueled that decision. The 49ers have one of the most diverse um, coaching staffs probably in the NFL. So I don't know that. What do you think, Angie?
It's hard. It's a touchy subject, obviously. I just look
Right.
at like past treatment of underrepresented coaches, like women, and what those past coaches have said about the team and how they were treated. So I don't think we will know the full story, and I don't think it's
Right.
fair to speculate. I'm just trying to say like that, like both ways, don't assume that whether it's good or bad, because you can think that your team is awesome for hiring a female coach, and then they can make her sit at the back of the plane. So like you never know what's going on behind closed doors. But I'm interested. I'm hoping that with the waves this made on the internet today, that the reporters get to the bottom of it and what actually happened, because this was the guy that discovered George Kittle and developed him into the player that he is today, which, arguably, depending on who you ask, he's the best tight end in the NFL. So I don't know. And I know they were close, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it will be. And yeah, hopefully we get a little bit more clarity on what went down. But honestly, I wouldn't count on it. I mean, you mentioned like the departure of other coaches, and we've never heard
Still don't
what
know.
happened with Katie Sowers. So who knows? We'll see. Obviously, we'll hear more about potential replacements for John Embry. And man, I just got to think that George Kittle, like, man, that's tough. Like, first you're losing your BFF Jimmy Garoppolo, and which probably saw coming, but doesn't make it any
Right.
less difficult. And then your tight end coach, who he thinks highly of, being lost both in the same off season.
People
So,
are floating now after all this has happened. They're floating Jimmy Garoppolo, George Kittle trade packages.
oh Lord, wow, shit,
Which I think is absolutely absurd. I don't think George Kittle wants
it's
to or is
pretty
going anywhere, but people get ahead of themselves. You know how it is.
pretty absurd. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even want to get into that.
Not entertaining
Like,
it.
I'll just
Not entertaining it.
get into we could really get into the weeds of conspiracy theories. I mean, you know that.
We've changed.
But the other bit of news, Jimmy Garoppolo, he will require surgery on his thumb. I don't think I've heard anything else about another 49er requiring surgery, so that is a plus. It seems like obviously the rest in the
Yeah,
offseason
dude.
will be good for
We got
them.
out fairly unscathed,
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
they like, and like we'd mentioned, like they started getting healthier towards the end of the season. And yeah, like everyone's banged up at this point, but it's not bad. Could be worse.
Could be
Could be
worse.
worse.
Could be worse.
But of course, we have to end this episode talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. We haven't talked about him too much in this episode. And I mean, it seems very clear at this point that the Jimmy Garoppolo era in San Francisco is coming to an end. And nothing made that clearer than Jimmy Garoppolo's final post. Why do we keep saying post presser? Final presser on Tuesday, where he pretty much said bye to the fans. And I mean, it just made it seem real. Like, I'm sure at this point we've all seen a clip from that press conference, and the one that stood out the most was his goodbye to the fans. And I wish I could play the video because I had it, but yeah, having technical difficulties. But he basically he gave a goodbye to the 49er fans, and it's been fun. It's been a hell of a ride. Pretty much were his words. Angie, you're looking a little sad over there, Angie.
Oh,
How you feeling?
it's like many Niner fans, I'm sure it's a mixed bag of emotions.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
not in his last press conference, but one that was after the game, when we still knew it was his last game. He was just talking about his career in San Francisco. He said he had no regrets, which kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, you don't regret losing the Super Bowl, but like I'm just a bitch. But that last presser yesterday got me. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
and it's like he's just a great person, and no one will ever be able to take that away from him. And I think that's like something that he should always be so proud of, is how he handled his time in San Francisco. At the end of the day, he wasn't a good enough quarterback to get us our 6th Super Bowl championship, but like he was healthy for 2 seasons with us, and he gave us 2 winning seasons when he was healthy. So it like was the best of times. It was the worst of times. This isn't anything that hasn't been said already. He brought this franchise back to relevance after the Harbaugh era. It's a little sad. It's like the end of an era, but it's, we're talking about it. I don't know if you want to say what you compared it to.
Yeah, I mean, I basically said it's like a breakup. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. It's like
a
it's
mutual
not
breakup.
a mutual breakup. Like, it wasn't the right time, or like whatever the circumstances were. You just know it wasn't right, but it's still sad. right? Like, and you can't help but reminisce about all the good times, and naturally that's what happens at
A
any
lot of good times.
ending of anything. But yeah, I think now that we know that it's over, we can really reflect on, those good times, because in the moment you're just thinking about the present, and there's there's plenty to criticize on his play. But like you said, one thing that we can't take away from him is how good of a person he has been. And I think, like, that's been so clear, like, this season, the situation that he's been put in, especially with Trey Lance. Like, that's a difficult situation.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, I can't even imagine what that could have been like, and for him to, be a class act the entire step of the way. you know I just can't say enough about that. And I can't imagine how much that has done for Trey Lance. I mean, I, it's just, I have no words. I'm very thankful for his time.
Yeah, if there's no 49er fan that can say there was never a moment that Jimmy Garoppolo brought them joy. So I wanted to ask you, what was your favorite Jimmy G moment?
Probably, okay, so I don't have like one specific moment, and I know a lot of fans will probably agree with me on this, that like 2017, just him coming to this team, this 0-8 team, who was fucking terrible, and just igniting, excitement back
Chaos.
into the chaos, excitement back to the fan base. And he really did help spark something in the 49ers, which they didn't have before. And I think he was awesome in those final 5 games of that season. And I mean, you mentioned before he tore his ACL, like, he was like a different quarterback. I truly believe, like, that ACL like really like messed with him, probably
Yeah.
like mentally. But yeah, that season was really special, those last 5 games.
Yeah. I have to agree with you. Excellent choice. I went back and forth with this. Like, there's, like you said, like, you don't realize how many good moments there were. I think that we'll be saying "feels great, baby" for the rest of our lives. Like, that was iconic. That Halloween
Yeah.
game was really fun. But mine does come from that 2019 season, and it's that game against the Saints, when a win gives us home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and we needed to come out and do work against one of the best teams in the league, and they absolutely did. And it wasn't just the team. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo excelled that game. He absolutely killed it. It was like, I've never seen him play like that before that, and I never saw him play like that after that, but it was just such a good game, and it kind of reminded you of like what he was capable of. I wish that he could have bottled that up and carried it with him this season, and stayed healthy and stuff. But that Saints game, I mean, I think he threw for over 400 yards. He had a 75-yard pass to Emmanuel Sanders. He was throwing down it was just, I mean, you remember watching it, and it came down to the wire, and that was like that game, and the Packers divisional round game from a couple weeks ago are two of my favorite Niner games from the Jimmy Garoppolo era. And it truly is the end of an era, but there's so much to look forward to with Trey Lance. I did want to do just a little fun, like, sentimental cap or no cap.
Okay.
if you want to play with me. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Trey Lance said that Jimmy G is going to be one of his best friends for the rest of his life. Cap or no cap?
I think that's no cap. I mean, like, them both, going through this season together, because I don't think it was an easy thing for Trey Lance to experience either. Like, it's got to be awkward. Like, he didn't choose to be in a quarterback controversy, right? Trey Lance was just drafted here, and like, obviously there are a lot of people who are very fond of Garoppolo and wanted to see him start over Trey Lance. And, that's fair. Just saying, I think it's something that they kind of, I'm sure, bonded over being, experiencing it together. So I think it's true. And obviously Garoppolo is a very friendly, likable guy. I mean, everyone in that locker room seems to like him as a person, like, no doubt about that. So it's not hard to believe at all.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm like crying. If you don't know, I'm a very emotional person. Yeah, definitely no cap. And I think it's just the perfect, that quote is just the perfect bridge into Trey's career as the starter. It's beautiful, dude. It's just beautiful. I just can't believe we started this podcast over about less than a year ago. Almost a year ago?
Yeah. A little over a year ago, I think.
We didn't even know who they were going to draft, and
yeah.
Now we're here, and Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance are apparently best friends, and I think he's gonna be someone that he can lean on during these years coming up, which are probably going to be really hard for him. Hopefully not, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And if there's literally no one in the NFL that would be better to help him with that pressure and with that thick skin that he's going to need than Jimmy Garoppolo. No one in the NFL has thicker skin than Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, I think that's just a fact. And Trey Lance is lucky to have him. Honestly, fuck it, we were lucky to have him. What a wild ride.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's been amazing. It's kind of like Alex Smith. It's funny because we kept saying this situation is nothing like Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith, right? Because obviously we don't know what Trey Lance is going to be. He might not be Patrick Mahomes level, but we do know that character wise, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably up there with the Alex Smiths of the world, right?
And Alex Smith took his fair share of criticism.
Exactly. And that's why I think we appreciate him so much, and why I think we'll appreciate Jimmy Garoppolo so much, because we know how much shit they had to go through, and how much shit talking from us fans, even me and you, Angie included, directed probably both of their ways, when they were quarterbacks for the 49ers. So now we could look at it, fond memories, and be more appreciative of what they've done for this team.
Yeah, it's definitely easier when you remove yourself from the emotion of it all, and the losses and the bad parts, and reflect on the good, which is, man, Steph, should we have been doing that this whole time?
It's just crazy because watching his presser, I did not think I would be that emotional about it. And it's funny because when I posted even when I posted the video after, there are so many people kind of saying the same thing. Wow, I didn't think I'd be sad about this. Yeah. And I said,
if he were, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I said, it's perfect analogy. It's like a breakup. It's it's still sad, even if you kind of wanted it to happen.
Yeah, it would be so much easier if he were an asshole, or if he were this outspoken think of
but I'm glad he
Johnny
wasn't.
Manziel, or he's not a diva. He never addressed the criticism toward him once.
Right.
Stays off social media, keeps to himself. We don't really know much about him. We just know him as a football player, which I made it so easy to just view him as a football player. And I think what this final season and these last few games and this final press conference has done is just reminded everyone that he's a damn human. So shout out Jimmy G.
Shout out Jimmy. Obviously, we
Hi,
hope
Jimmy.
nothing for the no, please don't. obviously, like we hope nothing but the best for him moving forward. I mean, me and Angie, like we're gonna keep doing this podcast thing. So even though this is our last game review of the season, we have plenty more to talk about after this. We're gonna talk about, potential landing spots for Garoppolo. I'm sure most of this off season that'll be a hot topic. So we're not done talking about him yet, so it's not that sad. But Angie, like before we head out, I just have to say this has been such a great year to cover with you,
Yeah.
and this has been an awesome first experience of me doing a podcast ever. So I'm just excited to keep it going and keep talking about our favorite team.
Yeah, dude, you're awesome. This is, like you said, we couldn't have picked a better season. Like, so
Right.
much to talk about, so much success, so much excitement. Honestly, Niners aside, best NFL season I can remember in years. It came down to, those last few weeks, and all three playoffs has been so exciting. And for us to get to talk about it has been a blast. And I hope the Super Bowl keeps up the excitement next weekend. Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna watch, but yeah,
What?
hopefully. I don't know if
Are
I
you
want to watch,
joking?
man. Is it?
No,
No,
watch
I
it.
don't know. I don't know what I want
Watch
to watch,
it.
but it's
Joe
gonna hurt too
Burr.
much. It's gonna hurt.
I know.
I want to see him win, and I don't think they will. So that's another reason why.
Damn, dude. No faith. No
But
faith in the Bengies.
But yeah, I mean, we'll have a lot of off-season coverage for you guys. Obviously, like thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. Next week we are going to have a season review episode. So we're going to kind of just like talk about the season as a whole and talk about what's next for this team because there's plenty of changes that are going to happen this off season. But before you guys leave, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't yet. And yeah, just have a good rest of your week. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Tune in next week for that season review and peace.